Okay, so hi everyone. It's great to be here. Am I audible?
I think so. I'd put it a little closer to you now. There you go.
So good afternoon. Always great to be here on campus as my alma mater. And thanks, Richard, for having me and Phani and Deepak here today. I'm going to talk about what's happening in India today in terms of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, what's happened in the last few years, and where we see this whole thing evolving into. So Richard has given a great title, the entrepreneurs and opportunities in India, and how we're going to really focus on not just the entrepreneurs but the whole ecosystem. If we look back at what's been happening in India, there's been a gradual growth across various sectors, various things in India, and this has nurtured what is coming out to be a very exciting ecosystem. Now, the question that we asked, some of us asked, who went back from the Valley or from the US some years ago, all kinds of countries have produced good startups, companies which have become great, which have had great impacts on lives across the globe. If Israel can produce an ICQ, Singapore, a couple of companies like Creative Labs and so on, even Estonia has produced Skype, which have all become global names. With a large country like ours, 1 billion people, a lot of English-speaking people, large skills available, and tons of different ideas, can India indeed produce a startup which can have an impact on the world? So this is what India looks like, and this is pretty much what it has looked like for the last few years, with some changes happening here and there. There's a lot of chaos, but there are a lot of opportunities. We have 800 million, or maybe Deepak will know the current numbers, even more mobile users. We have 100 million plus internet users. We have a lot of population which is doing different things with different tools which are available. So all this really provides a good backdrop for creating entrepreneurs and creating a good platform for creating good companies. We have people, we have the environment, we have a very young population, we have good financial systems in place, better than many other economies. However, we do have certain roadblocks. We have, though we have educated people, we have high literacy, there is a skills gap. There's clearly a big divide between haves and have-nots. I think more importantly, we have a cultural resistance to what is called failure, though it may not be, but what is perceived as a failure. And other big roadblock is that we have no early adapters. We are kind of slow at adapting to new things, and there are not too many new economy poster boys or heroes. So all this is kind of slowing down what should be a really vibrant ecosystem. I'm just going to backtrack a bit and just look at what has happened in the past as India has evolved. Post-independence, we had a nation-building phase where there was a lot of focus on building the infrastructure and so on. In the 90s, we had the telecom revolution, where the telephony started penetrating in deeper inroads in India. And that was, along with the software industry coming up, really marked a sea change in where the direction India was taking from post-colonization days. Another big change, of course, like the rest of the world, came with the internet and the arrival of the mobile telephony. This also led to another industry of the IT services, the IT-enabled services. India is answering the phone calls for the world, doing all their back offices. However, what we call the new economy, which is led by products and innovation, that's still not happened. We're still just doing services for the world, but all the same, it's a marked change and kind of a direction towards making innovative products and services. Come 2000 vintage, and we have .com everywhere. Again, there's a big change, and we have the first wave of the new economy happening. People want to make products and solutions away from services. New business models are emerging. A whole new era, window has opened up, and we are having a slim slice of the Silicon Valley coming into India. Bangalore starts being called the Silicon Valley of India, and so on. So we had a lot of funding happening at this time, over $1 billion invested at that time, over 100 VCs started up, and like the rest of the world, we had a market crash at 2000, and for various reasons. So post 2000 again, we have sort of a lull, and entrepreneurship kind of dies down. But the seed was sown. We had a sort of a taste of the market, and a lot of us started thinking, we did it wrong in 2000, but let's do it right this time. So Seedfund, ourselves, 6 of us who were ex-entrepreneurs, all got together, and we said, let's get into this ecosystem. At the same time, several others, in 2005, 2006, several angel groups started being formed. There were some others who started recognizing that we need to get into this space. A lot of the funds which were there in 2000 started being bunched up together in the higher investment, more like VC PE types. But so there was a big gap which needed to be filled, which a seed fund along with several others started. So this 2006, I would say, is the beginning of the new age entrepreneurial ecosystem. And what we set out to do, and I speak not just for Seedfund, but a lot of us who started at that time, was to really change some of the things that we had done earlier, which was to put in less money, a lot of time, so really nurture the startups and look at the local business models which make sense, and really prove that VC funding in early stage or angel funding is indeed viable, and really set the basis for an ecosystem. And this led to a lot of startups happening in 2006, a lot of VCs coming in as well, and really it started becoming pretty vibrant. 2008, we again had sort of a financial meltdown, global meltdown. India wasn't so badly affected, but we realized that again we have to reinvent. Seedfund itself, which was a smaller fund, decided that we're looking at different kinds of entrepreneurs, so we need to sort of evolve. And again, we came up with an incubator model along with a full investment segment. So we really kind of became a full-fledged venture capital fund with an incubator as well as larger bite-sized investments. So for Seedfund itself, from 2006 since we started, we've done 25 investments. All are looking at local Indian markets with potential to go global, but they all started with having India focused, feeding the consumer demand, all the teams with experience and knowledge of the local industries, and who all of them aim to be innovators and leaders in the sector that they'd chosen. And the whole aim was to create impact in the local landscape. Now, if you see the landscape today, we have a lot more funds, even in the early stage, a lot more angel groups, a lot more incubators, accelerators. We have got some bunching happening still in the PE segment, but again, a lot of action in the early stage. So compared to even 2006, we have a lot more action happening today. This graph actually captures it all. You can see we started in 2000 with a dip, and in 2011, 12, we are right up there with the increasing number of deals. And so this means that the VC and the early stage ecosystem has truly arrived. More importantly, even the angel investments, which were really hardly there even in 2007, is gone up quite a bit. And this is really feeding into the various venture funds and PE funds. A big shift has happened also in terms of the type of companies. In 2000, starting with a lot of IT companies and IT enabled services, that is now diversified. We have several other sectors. Even within technology, within IT, you can see a clear change. There is a lot of online web services and so on, IT products coming up, and certainly a big shift towards mobile telephony. We ourselves have learned a lot in the last 6 years, and what we've really, I think some of the mantras are common, is to promote cash flow break even quickly, choose the right team, and look for impactful ideas. I think that clearly is what we figured. We can't do copycat ideas, don't really work. Particularly in our ecosystem, we have to really cater to the Indian market first before getting out. While the ecosystem has evolved, we do have several gaps. Like I mentioned earlier, adapters of products and services, access to technology and talent, these are some of the key gaps that we do have, a risk-averse culture. And we also have an education system which really doesn't promote out-of-box thinking, and they work in silos. So the really industry-academia interaction, which is the basis of the Silicon Valley and Stanford University, that's completely, that was lacking, and I think there's a concerted effort now to bridge that gap. I think we will talk about that when we go to Deepak here, who is a great example of how we're trying to overcome this. But this is something that we really need to fix in India. Without that, we will not be able to really replicate what we're seeing around here, around Stanford. For today, I think if you look at in 2012-13, what are the hot sectors that, some of the sectors that we favor in India or we feel are going to drive the innovation? Clearly it's technology, but not just technology. It's technology-enabled consumer products and services, which include things like web applications and services, mobile value-added services, products and platforms, enterprise solutions. India has tons of small and medium enterprises who can do with a lot more technology. So certainly enterprise solutions for this segment is a big driver. Open source is going to drive a lot of this. Storage is really required in India, storage solutions, SaaS, and all these have a potential to become, to scale globally as well. Cloud and security, these are again some of this, we are seeing a lot of action around here. Some of the other sectors where technology is enabling growth of these sectors is healthcare, lots of services in healthcare, healthcare products driven by technology, a lot of healthcare infrastructure. This is really also driven largely by the demand in the country. There is a latent demand here. Same thing in education. There is so much demand in education for improving the quality, for increasing the reach, energy, offline consumers, a lot of different sectors which are coming up. We started by asking the question on great Indian startups. If you look at from a VC perspective, these are the ones which have sort of made it big in terms of having exits or IPOs and so on. And we are getting there. We have some companies now which are listed or which have been acquired by larger companies, global companies. So we're getting our footprint there, and I think the roadmap is laid out. What we need to do is to just fuel this little more, have more angel clubs and incubators to feed into the ecosystem of the VCs. We need a lot of M&As happening even within our own ecosystem. We need to have closer interaction with it, the various partners, and we need to really support. What we really lack is talent, and again, some of the entrepreneurs can talk about it. We don't have a good sort of talent pool who really is dying to join startups. So these are some of the gaps. So the future looks like a bumpy ride ahead, but like everything else in India, but there is definite momentum. We have a lot of good drivers, the 3G, 4G technology, telecom revolution, cloud, money coming into India, all this is going to drive it further. So to answer the question, I think we can do some good companies, impact-making startups, which will soon everybody will hear of, and I think it's a good time to introduce.
Yeah, I think so. I think what we'll do is we'll ask Phani to speak first, so let's switch places back.
Sure.
Paula, while we're switching locations, if I can keep from stepping on my mic cord, I've got kind of a follow-up question for you. What about the role of people who grew up in India and then did their education abroad, like yourself? Do you think they have a special role to play in this from here, or is it really going to be more local, people who have grown up in the system and are really finding?
Well, that's a great question, Richard, because having been educated here, if we can play a great role in India, provided we understand the synergy that is required from the local people. We cannot isolate and we cannot simply bring in the Western solutions. We have to realize that every society must have its own solution
and I
the
think
questions.
That's one of the key to understanding India at this point. This new generation of startups is really local market driven.
Absolutely.
And
I think that is what is driven. When we tried to do a copycat, we didn't succeed.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that. And what works here on Highway 101 will not work on our bumpy roads.
Right.
So we really need to keep the local solutions and the local questions in mind.
Okay. So everybody can see the small window with Phani in the window. As I put the slides up, Phani, say hello to everybody. So I'm about to switch over to your slides, and you won't see too much of yourself from this point. And I'll be happy to manipulate your slides as we go along.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Phanindra. I'm the co-founder and CEO of redBus. We started about six years back. And prior to that, I was working at Instruments as a VLSI ASIC chip designer. I passed out from college engineering about 2.5 years prior to that, and I was working in Bangalore. Parents were in Hyderabad, and we started redBus about 6.5 years back out of a personal pain point. So I'm going to talk about it in my slides. So my slides, it's a small deck, 6 slides, just gives a brief of how we started, what we do now, and what's exciting for us in what we do. We ended up being the country's largest bus ticketing company, and we always been the largest internet company, but now we are also the largest bus ticketing company cutting across all formats. Going to the next slide, we're largest in aggregation, distribution, highest in sales, and what we tell ourselves as to what we do is we don't call ourselves as an online bus ticketing company. That's the second slide, Richard.
You want this one or?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. So we don't call ourselves as an online bus ticketing company. We call ourselves as a bus ticketing company because we believe that the reason for our existence is the existing travel agents never believed in the power of internet, and we thought the technologies are changing so rapidly that by the time if we call ourselves online, and then the whole team and the company gears up to serve customers online. And just in a few years, if online changes to mobile, we feared that we may not be future ready. So we said earlier we had online and we dropped the online, and now we say we are a bus ticketing company, which actually changes some of the fundamental organization structures where we invest in a mobile phone, we invest in a call center, we invest in a buying through television sets. All these different formats, we look at them as equally as we look at internet as a medium. Okay, that's a small intro about us. Going to the next slide, why we exist. Actually, about 6.5 years back, me as a customer, when I went to a travel agent to book a ticket, the modus operandi there is the travel agent makes phone calls to the bus operators to find out if they have any inventory. So when I went to the travel agent, he made 2-3 phone calls to different bus operators and told me that there are no seats. And just when I was leaving his office, to go to another to go back, he told me that maybe another travel agent could get me a seat, and that really intrigued me. I thought, if this guy is a travel agent, why is that he's not able to get me a seat, and how is that another travel agent could get me a seat? But anyway, I went to this other travel agent. He also made 2-3 phone calls and told me that there are no seats. Then I went to the third travel agent. He also made 2-3 phone calls and couldn't get me a seat. I ended up going to the 4th, 5th, and 6th travel agent. All of them made a few phone calls, but none of them could get me a seat. And then I ended up being in Bangalore for the long weekend. But the next day, next day when I woke up, I was feeling really guilty because maybe there was a 10th travel agent in the city to whom if I had gone to, maybe he would have called the 30th bus operator, and maybe the 30th operator had a seat which went vacant from Bangalore to Hyderabad that evening. And that really pushed me to go and talk to this travel agent as to why is that he couldn't know about availability of that 10th bus operator or the 15th bus that is running from Bangalore to Hyderabad. So when I learned that, I figured out that the information about buses wasn't seamlessly available to everyone. And that made me think. Being an engineer, I thought, why can't all these bus operators be computerized? And once they're computerized, all this information about various buses can be available on a single place. What it meant was, if I went to the first travel agent, instead of he making phone calls to different operators, he could just log in onto a computer screen and see which of the 30 bus operators had a seat. Which meant he would be able to speak binary, whether there's a seat in the entire city or not. If there's no seat, I would just go back home instead of feeling guilty. Maybe there's some travel agent who had a seat. So basically, that was the idea. That was the big idea. And in retrospect, actually, last year we were rated by Fast Company as one of the most innovative ideas of the innovative companies in the world, along with Facebook, Google, and etc. We are amongst the only two companies which made to the world's 50. But the underlying thing of that is a very simple idea. I mean, when we looked at it, we even wondered if we should set up a company to solve that. So that's how we started. Going to the next slide. We came up with these three solutions. So the first one, BOSS, stands for Bus Operator Software System. This is a software which is given to the bus operators. Today, hundreds of bus operators across the country use this software to manage their operations, because of which we get real-time access to their inventory. We take that inventory and put it on redbus.in for consumers to use. And we take the same information through SeedSeller as a channel for travel agents to use. Between these three technologies, nice network effect is set in, with more and more bus operators getting into BOSS, more and more travel agents get onto SeedSeller, and with again more SeedSeller agents, more BOSS operators come onto the platform. Between these, we aggregate more and more information about buses, and that becomes a compelling reason for customers to come onto redBus.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the virtuous cycle which is leading our growth. Going to the next slide.
Yeah, I'm letting people see the elements come into this. I wasn't following you as you were discussing this, so sorry about that. But you can see what's in each of the three main products here.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Okay.
The another fundamental reason for the success of our product and the business is the supply side fragmentation. In India, there are hundreds and thousands of bus operators, and many of them are very, very small. They own less than 20 buses each. As you can see, there about 65% of the market is run by bus operators who have less than 20 fleet each. And that makes, again, a compelling reason why a third-party software, because none of them can create their own softwares and a distribution system like a redBus or a SeedSeller by themselves. So that fragmentation and unorganized nature of the industry makes it a compelling reason for the existence of BOSS and a distribution system like redBus and SeedSeller. Even from the consumer side, imagine if there was no fragmentation, if there were only 5 bus operators or only one bus operator, then aggregator like us adds very little value to consumer. So those are some of the things really adding to the success of what we do. Then the next slide talks about the bus industry. It's about $2.5 billion market. Interestingly, it's growing at a very rapid pace because of various reasons. One is infrastructure. The highways infrastructure in India is very good now. We have 6-lane and a 4-lane highways almost across the country. This initiative was taken about 10-15 years back, and as a result of that, today we have very good roads. Besides that, with all the activity that's happening in the urban India of more jobs, more companies, etc., there is increased migration from tier 2 towns to tier 1 towns. And that is again causing a need for transportation. And if you look at the 3 modes of transportation that we have, which is air, road and rail, air and rail have infrastructural constraints, and road thankfully is blessed with very good infrastructure. So that's causing our growth. So that's about our idea and our business and what's making it drive. Going to the next slide. A quick snapshot of about our company. So the first one talks about how we've grown in the last few years. Actually, this is our claim to fame. This is the reason probably I'm sitting here and talking to you all. We've been growing quite well in the last few years.
Finally, let me interrupt and just point out that about 6 billion rupees would be a little over $110 million US.
Yeah.
So from 1907 at the beginning to $110 million in revenue. Yeah, okay.
And actually, and all this with only word of mouth. So actually, I think the solution was the need of the hour. All that we did was just created the solution, and the people just came in by themselves and started buying tickets by themselves. That is one fantastic thing that's happened to us. And many of the past years went into computerizing the bus industry. But bus industry wasn't computerized, so making them believe in computerization, teaching them how to use a computer, to installing computers in their offices, washing away their fears of computerization, and then actually last 4-5 years went into that. And okay, so going to the other things, we are a little over a 6-year-old company headquartered in Bangalore. We have 26 offices, about 600 people. Many of these 600 people are in the call centers because we have a format where people can call our call centers, and we send a cash on delivery to their houses. We have about 1,000 bus operators, 800 of them on our own platform. We manage about 20,000 bus schedules every day across 24 states. This includes 3 government RTCs. We have about 40,000 point of sale outlets on SeedSeller, and 200 partners. 200 partners are partners like Expedia, Make My Trip, Clear Trip. These are the websites in India which sell other travel products like airline and etc. The bus part of their their websites is powered by us. With 200 partners there, pretty much all the organized bus ticketing in India is powered by us, which means anywhere there is a printed bus ticket, whether customer buys on bus operator's own website or a bus operator's office or a travel agent or with a SeedSeller travel agent or a site like Expedia. The ticket at the end of the day gets issued through our technology, and we end up making some money out of it. We make most money when people buy directly on our site. And the last one, we are amongst the highest transacted websites in the country today. It would be number 1 in terms of the number of transactions done on the travel portal. So that's pretty much about the company. So what's exciting to us, what makes us come to work every day, is some of the things, the way we are impacting the industry and the society around us. The first one is we've created a level playing field for bus operators. Earlier, the 10% operators who were the large operators, because they have a huge fleet, could afford to have huge distribution. and by the virtue of having that distribution, they were growing. They were in a virtuous cycle, and the smaller operators were in a vicious cycle, because in a given route, the large operator and the small operator compete for market share on that route, whereas a large operator comes into that route with a huge distribution, whereas a small operator comes into that route with a very less distribution. But by now putting the large and the small operator on a platform like redBus and SeedSeller, both of them get equal distribution, and both of them see unprecedented distribution, which technology enables. Earlier, on a phone-based method, the large operator would run a large call center, and a small operator would run a 3-4 people call center. But then again, it was not scalable. But now with internet technology, we reach out to hundreds of thousands of travel agents across the country. That gives them unprecedented distribution access. So today the operators compete on service levels rather than competing on the size and the distribution scale that each one has. And I think, and we believe in an ideal society, people should compete with their quality of service rather than the distribution strength or other strengths. Going to the next one, now because the whole system is technologically integrated from the front end to the back end, there's a lot of analytics that we mine and offer it to the industry. For example, we can predict demand of number of bus seats on each route 30 days in advance, depending on the number of searches that happen on our site. So suddenly, if the expected number of searches, let's say from point A to point B, is 10,000 searches a day, suddenly if 50,000 searches happen on a particular route, that is some abnormal demand on that route or for that particular date. We immediately take that information and show an alert on our BOSS system or send a SMS to the bus operator saying there's abnormal activity happening on this particular route for this particular date, which enables them to plan more buses on that route, or to route some of their buses from the low occupancy routes to high occupancy routes. This way, customer benefits, the operator benefits, and we benefit because we end up selling more seats. So these are some of the things that we could do because of having a seamless platform from the bus operator to the consumer, and leveraging the power of technology and information analytics. The other thing that we do is there are also some routes where there are no buses. For example, on our site, people could just type in any source to any destination and search for results. If people search from A to, let's say, G, where there are no bus services, our site just says there are no bus services from A to G. But but we mine that information and we log that search. And if there are considerable number of searches consistently from A to G, we take that information and pass it to the bus operator saying so many more customers are looking for this route, which often the bus operator ends up running new buses or figuring out new routes. So that also is contributing to the increase in the market size. So various things. Besides that, we also do yield management. What is the best price that is selling right now? So the bus operators tag to that price point and etc. and all that, which is causing reduction in wastage in the whole industry. So going to the next point, I spoke about the huge network effect that we have. With more bus operators, we get more travel agents, and vice versa. The other thing that I spoke about is a format independent organized travel company. We as a foundation, we don't call ourselves as an internet company. We call ourselves as a bus ticketing company which leverages technology to sell through internet, through call center, through mobile, and etc. Interesting thing, about 5 weeks back, we launched our Android app. And today we are amongst the highest downloaded. We are trending, not highest downloaded. We are a trending app on mobile on Android store amongst the free apps in India. And we're seeing a very, very good uprise week after week in the number of transactions that are happening through Android phone. We ourselves were very shocked with the numbers that are happening, which shows actually things are changing quite rapidly around us. Just 5 years back, there was no smartphone. We never thought this channel would contribute so much of our sales. Just within 5 years, the whole world changed around us here. Going to the next point, these are some of the things that are very helpful to us. I think this profitability at very low revenue per ticket, we owe it to Seedfund. Like Paula was talking about it in her slide, that Seedfund actually puts in very little money but helps the company get to profitable very quickly. So that whole DNA got into us early on, and it's a big blessing to us today. Many things in the company have changed. Most of us behave in a particular way which contributes to profitability at a very low revenue per ticket. It just got into the company culture. Okay, the others are about what we like to do in future. There are many things that we can do. One interesting thing is actually if you plot bus tickets on Google search trends and see the growth of people looking for bus tickets on internet, it has only been growing from 2007. Prior to 2007, very few people were searching for bus tickets on internet, which indicates, and many of the searches today also come only from India, which indicates, which is also validated later on, is a service like this doesn't exist in any country outside India, or at least when we started, it doesn't exist. So it gives us a further excitement to work hard, because this is like Google type innovation from India. Actually, we get mails from many countries now. In fact, in LATAM, two grads from MIT are trying to do the redBus of LATAM there, and they were talking to us to use our technology. And even while they do, they are the first ones to do it in LATAM. Same thing in Malaysia, same thing in many other countries where there are bus services, but there's no technology like this to aggregate that. So that's a further interesting thing for us to work on. These are some of the next slide is some of the awards that we got, and that gets me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Fanny, let me put your picture back up so everybody can see you. And while I'm switching to Deepak's slides, I've got a follow-up question for you. So it seems to me that the travel agents kind of lose as you become more and more powerful. Is that correct?
In a very long run. Nothing's going to happen in a short run. But yeah, if you take 10, 15 years, 20 years horizon, yes, it will.
So have you had to deal with a lot of resistance that they might put onto the market through local regulators?
No, actually what happened was early on, we were ignored. Nobody believed that customers would buy directly on internet, and travel agents said, okay, let them exist, it doesn't matter, and etc. and all. And today we are kind of indispensable. So today people are, and also this is all grown in the last 6 years. So people over time got used to it, that it is something that has to exist.
Well, that actually might lead us into our next presentation, because I suspect that might have been because of, the statistics show a relatively low internet penetration rate in India.
Yeah.
And so if you'll hold off, and we'll come back, and you'll get the whole screen when we get to our Q&A part. But for now, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Deepak Ravindran, the CEO of innoz, and talk about this whole business of internet versus other mobile platforms.
Yeah, hi Deepak.
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, good.
Now, what happened to your? Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So in continuation to the previous discussion, this is what India look like. We have 1.2 billion people, and hardly 10% have the access to internet. And on the other hand, we have around 900 million mobile phone users, which is like really the largest telecom subscriber base in the world. It's like at least 4 times what the mobile phone users in the US market right now. And so we were a group of friends, like in college. 4 years back, I was doing my computer science in a college called Lal Bahadur Shastri in Kerala. And we were sitting on a campus, and one of my friends asked, like, how can I impress a girl? And so the immediate answer was to Google it. And the problem happened is that nobody has access to Google. And so that was the eureka moment, like, how about the people who don't have access to Google can get information anytime? And mobile was the only solution that we were able to deliver. And so the next day we started designing the prototype inside our college campus. Like 4 of us decided to do this. I mean, we were not at all wanted to start a company after all. We just want to basically solve a problem, which is that a lot of people don't have access to internet, and how about giving an easy way? And eventually what happened is that we figured out that nobody is doing it, and we said ourselves, like, screw it, let's do it. And we dropped out of college to start the company, and that's how it started. So what the technology is so simple, like people who don't have access to internet simply text in their query, like how they do on the internet. They simply send an SMS with the questions they want to ask, and we come across different partners on the internet to find the answer and send them back instantly. So we have multiple patents on the technology, and we are the only movers in the field because we started young. And we call it SMS reinvention or SMS 2.0. And these are like some of the discussions that we did in college, and later we decided to form a company because people was actively using it. And this is how it works. Simply user send an SMS, like it can be route information. It's like a GPS over SMS where people send in a query, and we send them back with the answer. Some people
also by SMS.
Yeah, also by SMS.
So essentially this is using Google search or something, but using it on an SMS platform.
It's a standardized search platform that we developed, like Google.
Okay.
But what it really matters is the people who are offline right now, who want to find information. And people ask crazy, like, some people ask questions like this, and we answer them back. And they become they become so happy that it's so easy for people who are on the move. Like it can be also internet users, but there are millions of ways. Like like people ask questions when they are even in the exam halls. They ask questions, they get an answer, things like that. But what happened is that especially in small town cities and towns, like where people don't have a channel to learn about things. It can be about sex education. It can be about things which people are shy about asking someone else. They figure out that mobile become their private companion, and they started asking us like millions of questions on that. And in a short term, like in a 4 years of being business, we become the largest in the market. We scaled to 120 million users who have tried the service so far, daily answering around 2 to 3 million queries, and a monthly transaction of 100 million queries. And
so I've got the live thing up. Do you want to switch the
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
Oops. How do I get out of this? There we go. I get to. So live right now, these are the queries going through at 5 o'clock in the morning on.
So right now there is a cricket
5:30
match
in the
going on,
morning.
and that's why most of the queries are CRI, which means cricket. And these are the places from which the queries are coming. Like these are the states. AP stands for Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Karnataka, and so and so. So this is what is happening right now at probably 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is the hourly count which is showing on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to the previous slide, our main age group is targeted on the teenagers and college going students who are like between 16 to 25. Although we have people who are like after 30, like people like my mom and dad who might not even know what Google is or like want to try the queries. They simply do this through SMS because texting is something which people relate to it as an activity. Otherwise, like people make phone calls. These are the two things that people know. And main traffic right now is interestingly from small tier 2, tier 3 cities where people still don't have access to any internet. And otherwise, the places like in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore, which are the main cities in India, are showing enough interest in using the platform, even though they have still internet connectivity at a limited time. We decided to become a global company in the fact that there were a lot of queries happening from other emerging markets, especially from places like Africa, places like Indonesia, and all these people. And we look at the whole market. It's like 70% of the whole whole population still carries a mobile phone with a less than 20% access to internet, which is definitely a huge market to be addressed. And the other thing is that not much of people are actually caring about it or neglecting in the fact that they will slowly come to the internet more. But what we realized at the very early stage is that there is a huge gap. Like if Facebook want to go to the next millions or billions of people online, they need to come at least on a later stage. But here it's a addressable market where there are a lot of people carrying mobile phones and there is still no access to the internet, and we are trying to bridge that gap. So this year, probably by the end of this year, we would be live in the 10 countries that we look forward in working with. And we look at a market space of almost close to 2 billion people who still don't have access to internet but have a mobile phone at least. And
all of those are basically English language based?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other main thing or the interesting thing that we have done with our platform is that later we realized as a small company, it's better to make the platform public or make it open so that end developers can create their own applications on top of the simple technology that we built. So we created an API for the platform where companies like Twitter, companies like redBus can create an application where people can actually consume the internet in a light manner. And it makes it interesting. Like, we realized that a lot of people in India are actually good developers, and there is no place for people to showcase this. We come across multiple apps which are interesting. For example, Foursquare, which is right now one of the main active application in internet, can actually go offline. People can check into places and just let friends and family know to where they are, and the opportunity is right in front of more than 100 million who are still offline. And we do hackathons. Basically, the problem is that in India, people only relate to a place where there is only Bollywood music and cricket. So we realize that it's not just that. Like if you look at the companies which has grown tremendously big, including Sun, Google, and all, there are people from India who are done on the back end, who are done something really sustainably so well. And we realize that if we have a platform for people to create applications and make it public, there are a lot of end results which can happen. And what interestingly happened is that during the hackathons, people can develop SMS apps. So one of the interesting app we did, one of the hackathon participant, which is an 8-year-old kid, designed was a class bunk app, which it's like a notification where you can record your attendance over through SMS, and later at a stage, if you want to know how many class you have bunked, you get the answer instantly. So things like that. And we conduct this more often in colleges and campuses, and it's going good. And the core concept of the company is that there are millions or even billions of phones which are really dumb, and we just want to make them smart instead of just focus on smartphones, and which is a sizable or addressable market, and we feel that we can be the strong player inside that. Some of the recent press that we covered as shown in the figure, and yep.
I want to move this over so people can see it. There you go.
Yeah, so Limca Book of Records, which is like the platform which shown us as the largest offline search, and we were covered by Forbes as the emerging 5 startups to watch out. How we made it? It's pretty simple. We have a great team. Like all are young, a group of friends who are doing business more than fun, and we addressed a sizable market which is huge and which is mobile, which is growing. And we basically started a company to solve a problem which nobody has done before, and that's how the whole formation of a company and incorporation happened later. We had a great set of mentors, like right from the start, which helped us right from the start to the place where we are right now. And we were being a good storytellers up front. Like we were able to showcase our story in various places, including all the places we went. And I think that is more important more than being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur should be a storyteller, and that's what makes where we are today. And that's it.
Okay. Deepak, let's switch places one more time.
Yeah.
And I've got a question for you as we're getting kind of set up for this. So tell me a little bit about your revenue model.
Okay.
Basically, you're getting payments from the phone carriers
Yes.
because you're increasing their SMS traffic
Right.
incredibly.
Right. So we've been profitable for the last 2 years. The main monetization is basically the fact that every query is charged. So in Google, people do the search for free, where here every query is monetized through every transaction which is happening. So we typically make around 100 million transactions per month. That's the traffic in terms of SMS, which is every query is like charged at 1 rupees per query. So we make around $25 million per month per year in transactions, out of which for the telecom operator, and where we get a revenue share.
Okay.
And
You're
otherwise,
also doing some advertising?
yeah,
too?
so we do advertisements, which specifically, the interesting part about our search history is that we know what Indians are searching for, and which is a big data for consumer market companies. For example, using the redBus bus ticketing platform, they can book the tickets over through SMS also. Or companies like Flipkart can buy books over through SMS. So all this lead generation itself is a huge revenue monetization method for us. And otherwise, the data which we collect based on the users, it's an interesting data for many companies. Especially for internet companies who really want to take the internet into India. We would be the early movers for that.
Okay. Excellent. First of all, Fanny, can you see the audience now?
Yes. I can see.
Okay. And can you hear okay? Fanny, can you hear okay?
Yes, I can hear okay.
Okay, great. Then we're ready for the Q&A. Let's open the floor. Back in the back.
So I'm interested in the topic of education because I feel like a lot of the startups that have come out of the U.S. and our Silicon Valley have been based in Stanford or other universities. People have great ideas and they have, most importantly, the expertise to develop them. So if you're talking about India, which has 1.2 billion people that are really in touch with Indian issues, but only 120 million people that have access to the internet to figure out how to solve those issues, I mean, don't you think that the biggest step in developing a startup industry in India would be educating those other, 1.1 billion people? Like, how do you How do you get them to the
okay,
point
so
that they
let-
can actually
let me
develop
start
something?
with this. You know, the very famous book that was written a few years ago about the bottom of
Bottom
the
of-
pyramid.
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly what a lot of these new things are doing. Paula, would you want to comment?
Sure,
on
yeah.
that?
So I think we have to break it up into two. One is the 1.2 billion people is an opportunity as a market. The 100 million who are educated and have access to internet and other tools are trying to solve, reach and solve problems of this large population. One of them, of course, is education, to get them up to a level where, you know, they don't only have problems, but they're capable of solving. And I think innoz, for example, is doing just that. Somebody like redBus is doing just that. So, for example, not all of redBus's customers have access to internet, so he has call centers. So we are innovating to serve this 1.2 billion people as a market. And of course, they need to be brought up to the level where we bridge this gap. And a lot of these innovations and this whole ecosystem is actually enabling that kind of a bridging of the gap. In education itself, for example, we are using technology to reach the content to the last mile, also to reach products to the last mile. And again, Deepak is doing the same by providing information to the last mile. So certainly it's an opportunity as well as a challenge.
Okay.
Go
ahead,
Okay, so this is a question that we've been asking ourselves, especially when we're getting these invitations from other countries saying, why don't you lend your technology, we'll do it here, and etc. and all. And when we were evaluating it, one of the things that we looked at is, okay, we are a billion population, and every of these countries is such a small, tiny population. Will it really add anything to our revenues? Will it move the needle, and etc. and all? But what we missed out in all these evaluations is when we look at a billion population in India, it's not the billion population in India. Actually, if you go to Wikipedia and just look up, 85% of it lives below the poverty line, below $1 right a day kind of income. So it's not the billion population, at least the redBus is serving, talking to, and etc. It is a small percentage of the 15% of the billion population that is actually our target consumer. And in some countries like Malaysia, actually maybe 45% of their 30 million population is our target consumer, which makes it a really sizable population for us. So that way, I would say that let's not look at the billion population, let's look at that small fragmentation, that small percentage of customers who really fall under our any of our services. Either it is innoz, ours, Flipkart, any one of our services.
Thanks. Let's do the next question. Actually, this is pointed over here. I saw your hand first anyway. Go ahead.
So for the SMS solution, or is there a limitation on text?
So we basically answer up to 480 characters in a response back, which almost answer any question. And there is an interactive menu. If you are seeing the slides pretty much closer, there is an option for people to retrieve more results. So it's a streamlined method also.
So I was interested because it seems like you are a key holder to open this door for people there to access information in a way that they wouldn't otherwise be able to, and that seems like the most exciting potential of it. Is infrastructure the biggest roadblock for you in terms of signal towers that are providing cellular service? Is that, cell phones in people's hands?
Actually, I think it's the opposite, right? I mean, internet penetration is really low. Smartphones are a very small percentage of the cell phone market.
So the other thing is that when we tried to solve the problem, we figured out that SMS or texting is one medium which is 99% uptime. Other cases like, even though there is a very less signal, you can't even make a call, but you simply can send an SMS, which will work. So that was pretty much why the solution worked in most of the cases.
Okay, good. Let's move on.
Can you talk more about the cultural issues of starting a company? I know that you dropped out of college. I missed a funny story, but what your parents said about starting a company, what everybody else thinks about you becoming a shopkeeper or whatever.
Yeah, what did your parents say when you decided to do
So,
this?
So we decided to drop out of the college because we got selected into I Accelerator program, which is a Y Combinator model which was tried in IIM Ahmedabad. So what happened is that I told my mom that I got MBA. Do that, and that's how I convinced. But later at a stage, she came to know about it, and by the time I become,
Famous.
the media really helped. By the way, like media really helped, and also the support from all the big entrepreneurs. Like few of my angel investors were already doing successful companies, like founders of Infosys, people like that who supported me. Like when we started. That was actually one of the backbone for us to really go to the next level, and then Seedfund find us. Yeah.
Fanny, would you comment on that? What was your story like when you told your family you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Actually, in my case, it was different. My parents come from a village, and all through, I went to a boarding school in my kindergarten. So that's how I grew up, completely outside.
But still, it must have been quite a shock when you told people you were going to leave TI, right? Did you start redBus right out of TI?
Yes, I worked there for 2.5 years before I started redBus. But to my parents, it was okay because they had no clue what I was doing right after my schooling. I went to the best of the college. They didn't know that it was the best of the college. When I got into Texas Instruments, they didn't know anything about Texas Instruments. They were happy with the salary that I was getting. When I said I'm leaving that to set up a company, they were equally fine. So that way I was fine. Adding to Deepak's point, I think media really helped us. So to give this thing, 5 years back when I went to any conferences to speak about entrepreneurship, how we started, etc. and all, the second or the third question used to be, how did you convince your parents? And today when I go to any conferences, nobody in the audience asks, how do you convince your parents?
Yeah, let me add to that, Fanny.
Change
Sure.
in the community and the society that's happened. Earlier, it was a big question as to how did you leave your job? And today media has made heroes out of us. All of us are there in CNBCs and newspapers almost every week, and then the country started worshipping us. In fact, people started taking autographs wherever we go. So things has completely changed. And I think today parents are saying, okay, I want my son to be an entrepreneur like that, and etc. and all. So I think that's a big change that's happened here.
Paula, why don't you comment?
Yeah, in 2007, 2008, I had at least 3 sets of parents who came to us to say,
investors.
as in the investors, to convince their son to leave the company, and because he was not getting good marriage proposals. It was not a cool thing to be an entrepreneur. I'm sure it's reversed now. Well, some of these heroes helped. But it is changed now. It is no longer as much. Though I must say it still exists. It's not gone. But at that time, it was really very, very difficult for the guys to really start that.
Itan?
Ties up a couple of things you said. And by the way, I think India will have come full circle when your mother beats you with the newspaper and says, "Why aren't you starting a company like Deepak?" I think that would be a closure of a circle. But anyway, my question is, you mentioned before, especially in all the presentations, somewhat touched on the opportunity. You talked a little bit about the gaps. What is India's, every startup hub around the world has some type of, or some couple unique advantages that really they have. And my guess is, maybe one of them in India is that it's so difficult to get started sometimes, or to operate early stage. Maybe that makes you better and tougher as an entrepreneur. That came up in the conference we were at earlier in the week. So I wanted to know, what do you think is India's unique advantage compared to other hubs?
That's a tough one, because I think it changes, but I think clearly the biggest advantage is that we have a lot of unsolved problems. We have so many problems to be solved that there are opportunities. Execution is a huge challenge, and that makes us tougher. I think that's definitely the learning from the last 5 years, is that you cannot have the luxury of saying I'm doing something great. You have to just go do it, because you have so many obstacles to to come through. I think that is really an advantage. But biggest advantage is there are a lot of opportunities, and if you can convert that into a unique solution and not just if you innovate on the spot rather than taking an idea, like they both innovated on the spot pretty much, and I think that is really a kind of a unique strength. The ecosystem is not really there to nurture you right now. It is coming there, so you have to be a self-starter, and a lot of the guys are those who succeed. They are self-starters. I think that is a
Paula,
big
can I
innovation.
add to this just
Sure.
it's different kinds of problems.
Different kinds
The
of
nice
problems.
thing about this is that these are the problems that address, 80% of the world's population that most of the information technology revolution has not done a whole lot for.
Yeah.
And if you look at the countries where, innoz is expanding in 2013, it's not Germany, it's not France, it's not wherever. It's countries that have largely been missed.
Yeah.
So I think this is really a very exciting new range of ideas that are eventually going to filter into the advanced economies as well.
Yeah, so I think it's just the unique advantage today is that we're at a time where the problems are really ready to be solved. And I think that is, it's a unique time in history probably from emerging economies.
Back in the back.
Yeah. So, can I add two things to that?
Sure.
Okay, so the two things that I wanted to add is out of my experience. So one of the things is I think we are blessed by having the seamless seamless internet access or the access to the world's knowledge. For example, this I'm talking with my experience of going to China, and then I was shocked that they don't have access to Google, to Facebook. And the Facebook's there and the Google's there, or at least the travel technology there. They don't have access to the Amadeus and Galileo, which are the largest, GDSs of travel technology across the world, and that doesn't exist in China because Chinese government didn't allow it. So they have their homegrown GDS, which is very, very kind of predated, and some of the things that they use are quite predated. I think one other way we are blessed is by allowing all these technology companies to be present in India and making us compete with them. That way, about last year when I came to the Valley, to California, I went to the startup center, met some startups, and looked at what they're working on, and I was very pleasantly happy that our engineers, our team, the technologies that they're working on or they worked on in the last 2 quarters are the technologies that the Valley entrepreneurs are working on when I visited them. So I think by having this direct access to the next big innovation for the human race, whether it is published on TechCrunch or any one of these blogs, Indians here, we get access to that the next minute, and we start working on it in a very almost like a paranoid phase, thinking that okay, maybe it's already happened in the US and let's work on it, and etc. So that way I think we are leveraging the best of the technologies, we are getting visibility into the best of the technologies, and we are deploying it much earlier. So that is one advantage that we have, which is not so common in other countries. And the second one is I think we are also blessed by our large market. For example, when I met this entrepreneur in Malaysia who wanted to build a redBus in Malaysia, we exchanged notes as to what we do, what he does, and etc. and all that. And towards the end of that, he told me that if ever we are expanding to Malaysia, I should do a favor to him. And when I asked him what it was, he said, when you're expanding to Malaysia, the first thing that you should do is to acquire me. Because there is no way that with this market, I will be able to build technology like you have built. And when you come here, customers are customers, they like the best of the technologies, bus operators like the best of the technologies, and you will overtake me. And that's just because of we are able to invest in such technologies because of the large consumer population that we have, which some of these other countries are not able to. So I think that is also an advantage that we have, which is enabling us to take our technology, which we have anyway built, to other countries where building that technology is not so feasible.
Okay. Thank you, Phani. I think we have time for one more question, and I had already recognized you in the back. Go for it.
This, maybe to all the three of you, how can you stimulate entrepreneurship in, say, the rural parts of India, like sort of decentralize it? Because currently it seems like it's coming from the urban parts, from a specific sort of almost class in society. Do you think it's even possible to sort of push the solution generation out to where the problems or the most demanding needs are?
Okay, this is a very interesting question. Should entrepreneurship really stay in urban centers where you're looking out at the rural areas and imagining their problems, or can it really be distributed to the rural areas and really have, ideas come up from the rural areas?
Sure.
Paula, you take that.
Yeah, sure. So again, going back to what you mentioned about the base of the pyramid book, and where we are looking at that as a big market, and that's a big opportunity there. So there are sort of solutions which are emerging from there, but for scaling them, for technology enabling them, for scale up, that's where I think the urban centers or the educational institutions are coming in, and that's where a great opportunity exists for synergistic existence. I think there has to be an upward and downward looking approach, and the local entrepreneurship has to be developed, and that is happening as well. There are certain solutions happening in energy, water, and agri sectors which are very localized, and they're also getting access to technology. Like Phani mentioned, there is access, though it may not be as seamless, but there is access there, and in particularly in water and agriculture. And I think Sandeep has some examples as well, another venture capitalist from India, that these things are happening. So local centers are developing. So certainly it is going to spread.
Okay, I'm going to have to call an end to the formal session. I've got a question each for Phani and for Deepak to end this up. Okay, we're going to put these up on YouTube eventually, so people all over are going to see this session. What advice would you give to somebody who is interested in becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh, so from me, I think risk taking can be easier when you start young, and you can.
It's easier when you start young.
And
okay.
Easy to say when you're young, right?
Yeah, it's always good to start young.
Uh-huh.
And because you don't have much of a commitments right now, like your parents are capable of taking you to college. You can spend a lot of time in college, have a lot of free time. There is Wi-Fi access. All those things are here, and just to utilize those is what people should do actually, and that's what we did. And I think a lot of people in India are following up what we have done so far, and taking our case as a good story for them to inspire and start off. And I feel, I think when you start young, you can take a lot of risk, and when you become old, you can tell stories later. And I think that's how it works.
Excellent. Phani, comments on that?
Yeah. We have greatly been benefited because of the mentoring program that we received. I strongly believe that people who want to be entrepreneurs, the first generation young entrepreneurs, should certainly look for those mentors. Who have the wisdom and the knowledge who have seen cycles of companies. In our case, our mentor accurately kind of predicts what is going to happen in the next quarter to us in terms of our organization, in terms of people chemistry, in terms of competition doing something to us, and etc. So that's very, very valuable, and that comes only with experience. So I would certainly say that have great mentors and believe in them 100%.
Okay, thanks. I've got a final announcement. We want to thank ISI Dentsu for major support of this series. We also want to thank the Alan Miner Foundation for supporting this series. Thanks to our support, we've got some refreshments outside. Everybody here, we'd love to have you stay and talk with each other and also talk with our speakers. Phani, thank you so much for joining us at very early morning, and thanks everybody for coming. Please join me in thanking our panel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.